Imagine stumbling upon a lost wallet filled with cash. What would you do? Linda's simple act of honesty led to an unbelievable surprise. Now, we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you love heartwarming real life stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. A brand new inspiring story is coming tomorrow. You won't want to miss it. See you in the next one. A lost wallet, a life changing reward, the story no one expected. Linda had always loved her morning walks. At 76 years old, she found comfort in routine, and every day, just as the sun began to rise, she would step outside, breathe in the fresh air, and make her way to the nearby park. It was a quiet place, filled with tall oak trees and winding paths, where the sound of birds chirping and leaves rustling in the wind made her feel at peace. She had lived in the same town for decades, and in all those years, nothing unusual had ever happened during her walks. But on this particular morning, everything changed. As she strolled past a wooden bench near the fountain, something caught her eye: a wallet lying on the ground. At first, she thought someone might have dropped it while sitting there, maybe just a few minutes ago. She looked around, expecting to see someone frantically searching their pockets, but the park was nearly empty. A couple of joggers passed by in the distance, and a man was walking his dog on the other side of the trail, but no one seemed to be looking for anything. Curious, Linda hesitated for a moment before bending down to pick it up. The leather felt smooth and expensive, the kind of wallet that belonged to someone well off. As she opened it, her eyes widened. Inside was a thick stack of crisp $100 bills, neatly tucked behind several credit cards. A driver's license peeked out from one of the slots. She pulled it out and examined the photo. A middle-aged man with sharp features and a confident smile. There was something familiar about his face, but she couldn't quite place him. Linda's heart pounded. This wasn't just a few dollars. Whoever lost this wallet had likely lost a significant amount of money. And yet, no one was around to claim it. She could have walked away. She could have kept it. No one was watching. But that thought disappeared as quickly as it came. Linda had been raised to believe that honesty mattered, even when no one was looking. Standing there, holding the wallet in her hands, she knew she had a choice to make. The right thing to do was clear. She needed to find the owner. But with just a name and an address on the ID, tracking him down wouldn't be as simple as she had hoped. Linda stood there for a moment, gripping the wallet as the weight of her decision settled in. The crisp $100 bills, the neatly arranged credit cards, no one would ever know if she walked away with it. But that wasn't who she was. She had lived her whole life, believing that honesty wasn't just about following the rules. It was about doing the right thing, even when no one was watching. With a deep breath, she made up her mind. She had to return it, but there was a problem. The driver's license inside only had a name and an old address. She squinted at it, trying to recall if she had ever seen that name before. Michael Harrington. It rang a bell, but she couldn't quite place it. The address was on the other side of town, but that didn't mean he still lived there. The city had changed a lot over the years, and many people had moved. If she went there, would she even find him? Linda's first thought was to ask around the park, but it was still early, and only a few people were out. She scanned the area again, still no sign of anyone searching for a lost wallet. What if he didn't even realize it was missing yet? A knot of uncertainty formed in her stomach. She hated the idea of someone panicking over lost money, especially an amount that large. She knew she had to act fast. Her next option was the police station. It was just a few blocks away, and surely they could track him down. Without wasting another moment, she turned on her heels and started walking. The wallet felt heavier in her hands now, not because of its contents, but because of the responsibility it carried. By the time she reached the station, her heart was pounding, not from the walk, but from anticipation. Stepping inside, she approached the front desk where a uniformed officer greeted her with a polite nod. "I found this in the park," she said, placing the wallet on the counter. "I want to make sure it gets back to its rightful owner." The officer picked it up, flipping through its contents. He raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised by the amount of cash inside. "Not many people would do what you just did, ma'am," he said with a small smile. Linda simply nodded. She wasn't looking for praise. She had done her part, or so she thought. The next morning, Linda was just settling into her usual routine, pouring herself a fresh cup of coffee, flipping through the morning paper, when a sudden knock at the door made her pause. She wasn't expecting anyone. Her heart gave a small jolt. Visitors were rare these days, and unexpected ones were even rarer. Setting her cup down, she slowly made her way to the door, peering through the peephole. A man stood on her porch, dressed in a sharp navy blue suit. He looked to be in his mid-50s, well-groomed, professional. In his hand, he held something small and familiar. Linda's breath caught. It was the very same wallet she had turned in at the police station the day before. She hesitated for just a moment before unlocking the door. As it swung open, the man's face lit up with a warm smile. "Good morning, ma'am," he said politely. "Are you Linda Walker?" She gave a cautious nod. "Yes, and you are?" He extended his hand. "Michael Harrington. I believe you found my wallet." Linda's eyes widened slightly as recognition finally clicked into place. Michael Harrington. Now she remembered why his name had sounded familiar. He wasn't just anyone. He was the president of the Harrington Foundation, one of the largest charitable organizations in the country. She had read about him in the news before, seen his face in articles about community outreach and philanthropy. For a moment, she was speechless. It wasn't every day that a millionaire showed up at her doorstep. "I wanted to thank you personally," Michael continued. "When the police station called and told me someone had turned in my wallet, every dollar still inside, I could hardly believe it. I had to meet the person who did such an honest thing." Linda felt a small blush rise to her cheeks. She had never been one for attention, and the idea of being recognized for something so simple felt strange. "It was just the right thing to do," she said softly. Michael chuckled. "Maybe so. But these days, that kind of honesty isn't as common as you might think." Linda shrugged, still feeling a little overwhelmed. She had thought the story ended when she left the police station. But as she looked at the man standing in front of her, she realized this was only the beginning. Linda barely had time to process everything when Michael reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small envelope. He held it out to her with a kind smile. "I wanted to personally thank you," he said, his voice sincere. Linda hesitated before taking the envelope, her fingers slightly trembling as she opened it. Inside was a check. Her breath caught as her eyes landed on the number. $50,000. Her heart pounded. She stared at the check in disbelief, then looked up at Michael, shaking her head. "Oh my, I can't accept this," she stammered. "That's far too much." Michael chuckled softly. "I had a feeling you'd say that." He leaned against the porch railing, studying her with an amused expression. "That's why I have another idea." Linda exhaled, still overwhelmed by the sheer generosity of the gesture. "What kind of idea?" she asked cautiously. Michael's smile grew wider. "I know people like you don't do good deeds for rewards," he said. "So instead of keeping the money, how about we donate it, in your name, to a cause that means something to you?" Linda felt her chest tighten. Of all the things he could have offered, this was the one that truly touched her. She thought for a moment, then the answer came easily. "There's a small community center just a few blocks from here," she said. "They do everything they can to help struggling families. Food drives, after-school programs, job training, but they barely scrape by." She looked up at Michael, her eyes filled with emotion. If this money could go to them, it would change lives. Michael nodded, his expression turning serious. "Then consider it done." Linda let out a shaky breath, still trying to absorb everything. Just yesterday, she had been a regular woman taking a morning walk, doing what she thought was the right thing. Now she was about to help an entire community. She reached out, placing a hand over the envelope before gently pushing it back toward him. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "Not just for the money, but for reminding me that kindness still matters." Michael smiled. "I should be the one thanking you," he said, "because today you reminded me of that too." A few days later, the small community center Linda had spoken about received the donation. The $50,000 check, signed in her name, was enough to fund months of food programs, educational resources, and emergency assistance for struggling families. The staff was overwhelmed with gratitude, and word of the unexpected generosity spread quickly. Linda didn't think much of it at first. She had never been someone who sought attention, and she certainly didn't expect to be in the spotlight. But that all changed when a reporter from the local news station knocked on her door. "Mrs. Walker," the young woman said, holding up a microphone, "your act of honesty has turned into something truly incredible. The whole town is talking about it. Would you be willing to share your story?" Linda hesitated. She wasn't sure how she felt about all this. To her, she had just done what was right, nothing more, nothing less. But as she thought about it, she realized something important. People needed to hear stories like this. They needed to be reminded that kindness, even the smallest act, could ripple outward in ways no one ever expected. So, for the first time in a long time, Linda sat down and told her story. She talked about the morning she found the wallet, the decision she had to make, and the unexpected knock on her door that changed everything. The news segment aired that evening, and to her surprise, the response was overwhelming. People from all over the town, and even beyond, began reaching out, sharing how the story had inspired them. Some talked about times when they had faced similar moral dilemmas. Others said it had encouraged them to give back to their communities. And then something even more incredible happened. Donations to the community center continued pouring in, far beyond the $50,000 Michael had given. People wanted to be part of something good. They wanted to make a difference, just as Linda had. She never imagined that one simple decision, picking up a wallet and choosing honesty, would lead to all of this. But that's the thing about kindness. It has a way of coming back, often in ways you'd never expect. As Linda sat on her porch, sipping her coffee, she smiled to herself. She didn't need a reward. She didn't need recognition. Knowing that she had made a difference was more than enough. What would you have done if you were in Linda's shoes? Imagine finding a wallet filled with cash. No one's around. No one would know if you kept it. Would you return it right away, hesitate for a moment, or be tempted to keep it? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think about Linda's decision. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between honesty and temptation? Maybe you've done a good deed that led to an unexpected reward? Also, let us know where you're watching from. It's always amazing to see how far these stories travel and how they inspire people from all around the world. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an incredible real-life story like this one. We've got another heartwarming story coming your way tomorrow, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Now it's your turn. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going.